The massive council chamber stretched across 3 kilometers of polished crystal, its walls pulsing with soft blue energy that translated the words of dozens of alien species into comprehensible sounds. Ambassador Veldhar's 4 arms moved gracefully as he sorted through the data tablets before him, each one containing another petition from species seeking expanded territorial rights within the galaxy. Kim Miho sat perfectly still in his designated chair, designed to accommodate the basic bipedal structure that most council members found so primitive. His black diplomatic uniform bore no decorations, no symbols of power or achievement. To the aliens around him, he appeared exactly as humanity wanted to be seen. Young, earnest, and slightly overwhelmed by the grandeur of galactic civilization. The Kytherian ambassador's large compound eyes focused on the human representative. Veldhar had overseen first contact protocols for over 2 centuries, and he prided himself on reading the motivations of new species. Humans, he had concluded, were refreshingly straightforward. Unlike the devious Zephyrians or the manipulative Korthai, these mammals seemed genuinely interested in learning and contributing to galactic society. "Explain to me again why your people believe they are ready for expansion beyond your home system," Veldhar said, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had watched civilizations rise and fall. "Most species require at least a century of observation before we consider them stable enough for colonization rights." Miho leaned forward slightly, his expression eager but respectful. "Honored Ambassador, we understand the Council's caution. But humanity has made remarkable progress in the 30 years since first contact. Our agricultural scientists have developed new farming methods that could help feed the growing populations on resource-poor worlds throughout the galaxy." He gestured to activate a holographic display that showed lush green fields and abundant harvests. "Dr. Park Jaiwan and her team have created crop variants that can grow in almost any atmospheric condition. We simply want to share these gifts with our galactic neighbors." Veldhar's secondary eyes examined the data while his primary pair remained fixed on Miho. The improvements were impressive, though not revolutionary by galactic standards. Still, the human's enthusiasm was endearing. Most species in their position demanded territory and resources. These humans offered to help others first. "Your Dr. Park has achieved notable results," Veldhar admitted. "However, agricultural science requires deep understanding of biological systems. How did your species advance so quickly in this field?" Miho's smile remained warm and genuine. "We are fortunate to have learned much from the scientific databases you so generously shared with us after first contact. Dr. Park says that studying the nutritional needs of different galactic species helped inspire new approaches to crop development." What Veldhar did not know was that Dr. Park Jaiwan's research facility on Ceres contained the most comprehensive biological warfare laboratory in known space. Her agricultural innovations included detailed studies of how to poison, sterilize, or genetically target every single council species. The nutritional requirement data had been reverse-engineered to identify the exact compounds that could trigger organ failure in Kytherians, neurological breakdown in Velnari, or reproductive collapse in any of the 12 council races. 30 light-years away, Lee Salmon sat in a chair surrounded by holographic displays showing real-time feeds from listening posts throughout council space. Her facility, hidden within what appeared to be a routine asteroid mining operation, intercepted and decoded every communication passing through the galactic network. She watched Ambassador Veldhar's vital signs through microscopic sensors embedded in the council chamber's structure, noting the subtle changes that indicated his emotional state. "Target is exhibiting standard patterns of condescending approval," she reported to her team of analysts. "Confidence level remains high. No indication of suspicion regarding our true capabilities." Her assistant, a young man named Kong Juno, highlighted sections of intercepted Kytherian military communications. "Their defense ministers are still debating whether humans even possess faster-than-light travel capabilities beyond the basic engines we demonstrated. They have no idea about our real fleet positions." Lee Salmon nodded, her attention returning to the diplomatic feed. For 30 years, humanity had performed this careful dance, presenting themselves as grateful students while secretly cataloging every weakness, every tactical doctrine, every political tension within the Galactic Council. They had learned the languages, customs, and psychological profiles of every major species while sharing just enough primitive human culture to seem authentic. Back in the council chamber, Veldhar was warming to his role as mentor to this promising young species. "Perhaps we could arrange a limited trial period," he suggested. "Your people could establish agricultural research stations on 3 uninhabited worlds within council space. This would allow us to observe your methods while ensuring you do not exceed your current technological limitations. Miho's eyes lit up with what appeared to be genuine gratitude. The Council's wisdom and generosity continue to amaze us. Dr. Park will be thrilled to contribute to the greater galactic community. As the session continued with technical discussions about orbital mechanics and supply logistics, neither Veldar nor his colleagues noticed the nearly invisible modifications Miho had made to his translation device. Every word spoken in the chamber was being recorded and transmitted to human intelligence networks, where xenolinguists continued refining their understanding of alien thought patterns and cultural triggers. The humans had convinced the galaxy that they were humble farmers and philosophers, eager to learn from their advanced neighbors. The truth was far more complex and infinitely more dangerous. Humanity had been studying galactic civilization the way a biologist studies bacteria in a laboratory dish, cataloging behaviors, testing responses, and preparing for whatever conclusions their research might demand. But for now, Kim Miho simply smiled and took notes like a diligent student, while the real architects of humanity's future watched from the shadows between the stars. The research laboratory on Titan operated in complete silence, its walls lined with quantum computers that processed data streams from across the galaxy. Dr. Choi Hyun-woo had worked in this facility for 8 years, believing he was part of humanity's effort to understand and integrate with galactic civilization. Today that belief shattered completely. He stared at the holographic display floating before him, his hands trembling as he scrolled through communication logs that should not have existed. The dates made no sense. The locations were impossible. According to these records, human agents had been operating within Council territories for over 50 years, decades before humanity's supposed first contact with alien civilizations. "This has to be a mistake," he whispered, but even as he spoke the words, he knew they were not true. The encryption signatures were authentic. The quantum timestamps could not be faked. Everything he had believed about humanity's place in the galaxy was a lie. Young Neon looked up from her own workstation when she heard her colleague's sharp intake of breath. She had known Hyun-woo since their graduate studies at Seoul National University, and she had never seen him look so shaken. His usually steady hands moved frantically across the control interface, pulling up file after file of impossible data. "Neon, you need to see this immediately," Hyun-woo called out, his voice cracking with disbelief. "These communication logs show human operatives embedded deep within Council space 50 years before we supposedly made first contact. How is that possible?" She walked over to his station, her footsteps echoing in the quiet laboratory. The holographic displays showed detailed reports from agents with names like Park Sungwon and Kim Yuna, describing their infiltration of Velnari research institutions and Kytherian military academies. The dates went back to 2387, but according to official history, humans had not encountered alien life until 2437. Neon felt the blood drain from her face as the implications became clear. "This means every coincidental meeting between our species and theirs, every surprising technological parallel we claim to discover, every moment of wonder at finding similar solutions to universal problems. All planned. All orchestrated down to the smallest detail." Hyun-woo pulled up another classified file, this one labeled with security clearance levels far above their authorization. "Look at this data from Kong Minji's Psychological Research Division. They have been running behavioral experiments on the Velnari for decades. We know exactly how they think, how they will react to any given stimulus, what words will make them trust us and what actions will make them suspicious." The files contain thousands of pages of detailed psychological profiles. Velnari mating rituals, analyzed for emotional manipulation potential. Kytherian decision-making processes, mapped and predicted with mathematical precision. Zephyrian religious beliefs, catalogued for exploitation in diplomatic negotiations. It was not the work of curious scientists trying to understand alien cultures. It was intelligence gathering on an industrial scale. Neon sat down heavily in a nearby chair, her mind struggling to process the scope of the deception. If this is true, then everything we have been told about human history is false. We are not innocent newcomers to galactic civilization. We have been manipulating it from the beginning. Meanwhile, 800 million kilometers away on Earth, a very different scene was playing out. Ambassador Veldar led a delegation of council inspectors through the peaceful countryside of rural Korea, marveling at the simple wisdom displayed by human farmers and philosophers. The aliens walked through rice fields and small villages, observing humans who seemed to live in perfect harmony with their natural environment. "Remarkable," commented Zorkali, the council's chief cultural analyst. "Despite their technological advancement, These humans maintain such a strong connection to their agricultural roots. It explains their innovative approach to crop development. Veldar nodded appreciatively as an elderly human woman offered them samples of homegrown vegetables. The humans appeared genuinely pleased to share their knowledge, asking thoughtful questions about alien nutritional needs and offering suggestions for improving crop yields on distant worlds. They seemed like the ideal galactic citizens, eager to contribute and learn. What the council delegation could not see were the quantum communication arrays hidden beneath those same rice fields, or the advanced sensor networks disguised as irrigation systems. They did not know that every word they spoke was being recorded and analyzed, that their biological responses were being measured by scanners built into the seemingly primitive farming tools around them. Far beyond the orbit of Pluto, in the cold darkness between stars, Admiral Yoon Tae-young stood on the bridge of a command ship that officially did not exist. Through the transparent aluminum viewports, he could see the running lights of a fleet that numbered in the thousands, vessels capable of reducing entire worlds to radioactive dust within hours. His tactical displays showed the real-time positions of every council fleet, every defensive installation, every populated system within 100 light-years. The information flowed in through networks of spy satellites and deep-cover agents that had been in place for generations. The council thought they were monitoring humanity's development, but they were actually subjects in the largest intelligence operation in galactic history. Status report on the Earth inspection, Tae-young commanded. His communications officer, Lieutenant Commander Lee Ji-soo, smiled as she reviewed the incoming data. The council delegates are completely convinced by the rural demonstration sites. They believe Earth represents the center of human civilization and technology. Estimated threat assessment from their reports will classify us as benign agricultural specialists with limited military capabilities. The truth was that Earth served as humanity's most elaborate stage set, populated by volunteers selected for their ability to portray the innocent, wisdom-seeking species the galaxy expected to see. The real centers of human power remained hidden in the vast emptiness of space, growing stronger while their supposed supervisors remained blissfully unaware of the trap closing around them. Council Security Chief Mordak had spent 40 years protecting galactic civilization from threats both known and unknown. His 6 appendages, each equipped with specialized sensor arrays, had never trembled during a crisis before today. But as he decoded the intercepted human transmissions streaming across his holographic displays, his entire body shook with a fear he had never experienced. The data made no sense according to everything the Council believed about humanity. These transmissions spoke of military operations spanning centuries, of genetic modification programs that had been running since before first contact, of strategic planning that treated the entire galaxy as a potential battlefield. The primitive farmers and peaceful philosophers they had been monitoring on Earth were not representatives of human civilization. They were actors performing in the most elaborate deception in galactic history. His aide, a young Velnari named Keshtar, leaned over his shoulder to examine the decrypted files. The junior officer's voice came out as barely a whisper. "This is impossible, Chief. Our biological scans confirmed that the Earth humans were completely unmodified members of their species. No genetic enhancement, no artificial improvements, nothing that would suggest military breeding programs." Mordak pulled up another set of files, these ones containing detailed genetic analysis reports from a human facility they had never known existed. The data showed systematic breeding programs that had been operating for over 200 years, creating specialized human variants for different purposes. Some were designed for deep space operations with enhanced radiation resistance and improved bone density. Others were bred for infiltration work, with modified facial structures that could better mimic alien features and neurological changes that improved their ability to lie convincingly. Modified for what purpose, you ask? Mordak's voice now carried an edge of fear that made his aide step backward. Look at these research files from Dr. Oh Jinwa's genetic division. They have been selectively breeding human populations for specific combat and infiltration roles for centuries. The Earth humans, those peaceful farmers we have been studying, they represent just one carefully crafted phenotype among many. The files revealed the horrifying scope of human planning. Combat specialists with enhanced strength and reaction times, designed to fight in the low-gravity environments of space stations. Diplomatic variants with improved emotional intelligence and memory retention, bred specifically to manipulate alien psychology. Intelligence operatives with modified brain chemistry that made them nearly impossible to detect with standard council scanning methods. Each human population had been crafted for a specific purpose, and Earth served as the showcase for their most convincing act. The humans living there genuinely believed they were representatives of their entire species. They had been raised from birth to embody the peaceful, wisdom-seeking culture that would most appeal to Council sensibilities. Mordak activated the emergency communication system, sending an immediate alert to all Council members. Within minutes, Ambassador Veldar and the other senior officials had gathered in the secure briefing chamber, their faces showing confusion and growing alarm as they reviewed the intercepted transmissions. "We must confront them immediately," declared War Minister Zeph Cole, his warrior species instincts demanding direct action. "If these transmissions are genuine, then humanity has been playing us for fools since first contact." The confrontation came sooner than expected. As the Council emergency session continued, space around their headquarters suddenly filled with previously invisible vessels. Hundreds of human ships materialized as their cloaking systems deactivated, surrounding the Council station with firepower that could have reduced it to atoms within seconds. Admiral Bei Sungo appeared on the main communication screen, standing calmly on the bridge of his command vessel. His uniform bore no resemblance to the simple clothes worn by the humans they had been monitoring. Behind him, holographic displays showed tactical information that revealed the true scope of human military capability. The Admiral's smile contained no warmth as he addressed the assembled Council members. "Honored Council representatives, I believe there have been some misunderstandings about the nature of my species." His gesture encompassed the vast fleet surrounding them, vessels whose technology clearly exceeded anything the Council possessed. "Earth has never been our primary world, merely our most recent acquisition. The humans you have been studying are colonists selected specifically for their peaceful demeanor and agricultural expertise. They serve their purpose admirably as representatives of what we could become under proper guidance." Ambassador Veldar found his voice, though it shook with the realization of how completely they had been deceived. "How long? How long have you been deceiving us?" Han Yeji stepped forward from her position beside the Admiral. As Chief of Human Intelligence Operations, she had overseen the galaxy-wide surveillance network that had been studying every Council species for generations. Her voice remained quiet and conversational, which somehow made her words more terrifying. "Every Council species has been under continuous observation since before your current governments were formed. We have been waiting to see if any of you were worthy of learning the truth about human capabilities." She activated a holographic display that showed surveillance footage from across the galaxy. Council military exercises recorded from impossible angles. Private conversations between alien leaders, captured by sensors they had never detected. Strategic planning sessions that humans had been monitoring for decades. Your civilizations have served as excellent test subjects for understanding alien psychology, military doctrine, and technological development patterns. The question we have been trying to answer is whether you represent potential partners or merely interesting specimens. The Council chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. They had not been monitoring humanity's development into a spacefaring civilization. Instead, they had been unwitting participants in the largest intelligence-gathering operation in galactic history, studied and catalogued by a species that had been several steps ahead of them from the very beginning. The farmers and philosophers they had grown to respect were real, but they represented only the face humanity had chosen to show the galaxy, while the true extent of human civilization remained hidden in the darkness between stars. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had never witnessed such chaos in its 3,000-year history. Representatives from 12 different species shouted accusations and demands in their native languages, their translation devices struggling to keep pace with the overlapping conversations. The revelation of humanity's deception had shattered every assumption about galactic security and diplomatic protocol. Song Dowan stood at the center of the chamber, completely calm amid the storm of alien voices. Unlike the simple agricultural representatives the Council had grown accustomed to, she wore the formal uniform of the Human Colonial Authority, its dark fabric bearing symbols that spoke of military organization and technological sophistication. Her presence alone was proof that humanity possessed governmental structures far beyond what they had previously revealed. She waited patiently for the chaos to subside, then spoke with a voice that carried easily across the vast chamber. "Honored representatives, your confusion is understandable, but time is limited. You have 24 standard hours to make a decision that will determine the future relationship between humanity and the Council." Her words cut through the noise like a blade, forcing the alien delegates to focus on her ultimatum. "You may acknowledge humanity as an equal partner in galactic civilization, with full disclosure of our true capabilities and integration into Council leadership structures. Alternatively, you may choose to continue the current arrangement, where you remain unaware of our activities while we continue our observation and evaluation of your species. Council Chairman Felmotha's normally composed demeanor cracked as he processed the implications. His 4 arms gestured wildly as he struggled to comprehend how thoroughly they had been outmaneuvered. You speak of threats against the combined might of 12 civilizations? A single species dares to issue ultimatums to powers that have ruled the galaxy for millennia? The human representative's expression remained pleasant, almost friendly, but her words carried the weight of absolute certainty. Chairman Felmoth, we are not threatening anyone. We are simply clarifying the current realities of galactic power structure, which appear to have been misunderstood. Minji stepped forward from her position near the chamber's communication arrays. The council members recognized her as the charming cultural attaché who had attended diplomatic functions for years, asking innocent questions about alien art and philosophy. Her transformation into a cold intelligence operative was as shocking as any of the day's revelations. She activated a holographic projector that filled the chamber with a 3-dimensional map of council space. Every major system appeared in perfect detail, from the industrial worlds of the Kytherian Empire to the agricultural colonies of the Velnari Republic. But something was terribly wrong with the familiar star chart. Red indicators covered every homeworld, every major colony, every strategic outpost. Dozens of markers appeared on each system, scattered across planets and orbital installations that the Council had believed were completely secure. The sheer number of indicators made it clear that human presence in Council territory was not limited to a few hidden outposts. Those red markers represent human installations that have been operational within your territories for generations, Minji explained, her voice maintaining the same pleasant tone she had used during cultural exchanges. Some function as research stations, monitoring your technological development and social evolution. Others serve more direct purposes. She highlighted specific systems as she spoke, zooming in to show detailed views of planets the Council thought they knew completely. On Veltar Prime, our agricultural research station has been operating beneath your capital city's main food processing facility for 30 years. On Kytherdok, our cultural observation post has been recording every session of your planetary parliament since its construction. The delegates stared in horror at the evidence of how thoroughly they had been infiltrated. Even their most secure installations showed human presence, hidden in plain sight as mining operations, scientific facilities, or commercial enterprises. 1,200 light-years away in the Zeltron system, Kim Woo-bin received the activation signal through quantum communication arrays that had been disguised as standard industrial equipment. For 40 years he had maintained his cover as a mining supervisor, extracting rare metals from asteroid fields while his real equipment remained powered down and invisible to Council sensors. Now, as authorization codes flooded his communication systems, the massive weapon platforms hidden throughout the asteroid belt came online for the first time since their installation. Particle beam cannons that could punch through planetary shields emerged from hollowed-out asteroids. Missile launchers containing antimatter warheads powered up their targeting systems. Within minutes, enough firepower to sterilize entire star systems was ready for deployment. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy as human assets revealed themselves. Mining stations transformed into military bases. Research facilities activated hidden weapon arrays. Commercial trading posts deployed cloaked warships that had been waiting in standby mode for decades. The scope of human preparation became clear as reports flooded in from every Council territory. Humanity had not simply been hiding their true capabilities. They had been conducting the largest military and intelligence operation in galactic history, positioning assets throughout Council space while appearing to be harmless newcomers seeking guidance. Back in the Council chamber, Chairman Felmoth slumped in his ceremonial chair as the magnitude of their situation became clear. How many of our worlds have you occupied? Song Dowan consulted a data pad, though her expression suggested she already knew the answer. All of them, Chairman. Every Council species, every major installation, every strategic resource. We have been studying your civilizations not as students seeking knowledge, but as researchers examining test subjects. The terrible truth settled over the chamber like a suffocating blanket. The Council had not been monitoring humanity's development into a spacefaring civilization. Instead, every alien species had been unwitting participants in humanity's evaluation process, catalogued and analyzed while believing themselves to be the teachers and protectors of galactic order. The farmers and philosophers of Earth had been real, but they represented only the mask humanity had chosen to wear while their true civilization remained hidden among the stars. The transformed assembly hall buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from across the galaxy took their seats in the newly configured chamber. Gone were the elevated platforms that had once symbolized the Council's superiority over younger species. In their place stood a circular arrangement of equal-height podiums, each bearing the symbols of civilizations that now understood they were partners rather than teachers in galactic affairs. Lim Chae-young walked calmly to the central speaking platform, her footsteps echoing in the vast space that had been redesigned to reflect the new reality of galactic politics. 6 months had passed since humanity's revelation, 6 months of careful negotiation and gradual disclosure of capabilities that had reshaped the balance of power among the stars. The human representative wore a simple but elegant uniform that bore none of the military insignia that had so shocked the former council members during the confrontation. Humanity had chosen to reveal just enough of their true nature to command respect without inspiring the kind of terror that would make cooperation impossible. "Honored colleagues," she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the assembly hall without the aid of amplification technology. "Today marks the 6th month of our new partnership, and I believe it is time to address the questions that have been weighing on all of your minds." She paused, allowing her gaze to sweep across the assembled delegates, many of whom still struggled to meet her eyes directly. The psychological impact of learning they had been observed and studied for generations had left lasting marks on even the most confident alien leaders. "The choice to reveal our true nature was always ours to make," she continued, her tone remaining conversational despite the gravity of her words. "Humanity could have continued our observations indefinitely, allowing you to live your lives, build your civilizations and fight your wars, never knowing that every significant decision was being documented and analyzed by researchers you considered primitive newcomers." Behind her, holographic displays showed the faces of her colleagues, each representing a different aspect of humanity's hidden civilization. Seo Junhyuk from Deep Intelligence, whose networks of agents had monitored alien communications for decades. Park Yeren from Xenological Research, whose teams had compiled detailed behavioral profiles of every council species. Nam Ji-hun from Strategic Operations, whose military planners had developed contingency plans for every possible galactic conflict. These individuals and thousands like them have dedicated their lives to understanding your species, not out of malice or conquest, but from a genuine desire to determine whether the galaxy contained potential partners or merely interesting specimens. Ambassador Veldar shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his forearms fidgeting with the ceremonial robes that no longer carried the authority they once had. The Kytherian diplomat had spent weeks coming to terms with the realization that every diplomatic success he thought he had achieved through his own skill had been carefully orchestrated by human observers. "We decided you deserved the truth," Chae-young continued, "not because we feared discovery. Our concealment technology and intelligence networks could have maintained the deception for millennia if necessary. But isolation serves no one's interests when there is potential for genuine cooperation." The silence in the chamber was profound as delegates contemplated the implications of her words. The most terrifying aspect of humanity's revelation was not their advanced technology or hidden military capabilities. It was the understanding that for over a century, their entire galactic civilization had been treated as a vast laboratory experiment, with every species serving as unwitting test subjects while believing themselves to be the dominant powers in the galaxy. In the months following the confrontation, evidence of human observation had been uncovered on every major world. Hidden sensors in government buildings recorded political decisions. Monitoring stations disguised as research facilities tracked technological development. Commercial enterprises that had operated for decades revealed themselves as intelligence-gathering operations designed to study alien psychology and social behavior. The scope of human infiltration was so complete that many delegates questioned whether any aspect of their civilizations had developed naturally or if everything had been subtly guided by human manipulation. Trade agreements that had seemed mutually beneficial now appeared to have been designed to test alien negotiation tactics. Territorial disputes that had raged for years showed signs of human influence intended to observe conflict resolution methods. Veldar finally found the courage to voice the question that haunted every delegate in the chamber. His voice trembled slightly as he spoke. "How long would you have continued watching us? How long would the evaluation have lasted before you revealed yourselves or took more direct action?" Choi Do-hyun stepped forward from the human delegation, his pleasant smile exactly the same expression that had fooled galactic leaders for decades. As humanity's new chief representative, he embodied the careful balance between revelation and concealment that defined their new relationship with the galaxy. Until we were satisfied that you posed no threat to human interests and could be trusted with knowledge of our true capabilities, he replied, his tone suggesting the answer was obvious. That evaluation period is now complete, and we have determined that partnership offers greater benefits than continued observation. The implications of his words sent ripples of unease through the assembly. The evaluation was complete, but what criteria had humanity used? What tests had the various species passed or failed? Most disturbing of all was the unspoken question of what would have happened to civilizations that failed to meet human standards. The galaxy would never again underestimate the quiet species from the Sol system. More importantly, they would never again be certain whether their newest discoveries, their greatest innovations, or their most crucial decisions were truly their own achievements or simply the next phase of humanity's ongoing experiment in galactic civilization. As the assembly session continued, delegates struggled with the knowledge that their species had graduated from test subjects to junior partners, never knowing if they were truly free or simply participants in a more sophisticated level of human observation.